morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Weekend Wrap Up, July 5th, 2025. I'm David Thomas and Mr. Josh Blevins. Josh, it's good to see you this morning.
It is on this nice long holiday weekend. So
I understand you had a festive day yesterday.
it was very festive. We blew things up.
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, America.
Yeah,
All
it was
right,
good stuff. So,
Not a lot happening this week as far as news goes, but we do have some stuff to go over and tell people about.
yeah, a few small things. Should be
Yeah.
a short show. If you want to dive in deep and get some lots of stuff, I would still recommend going back and watching last week's show. We
Yeah.
had a lot to say last week.
Yeah, a whole lot
so
there.
dug in deep.
And there's some things here we'll
There's a few things
discuss.
we'll cover today.
Before we dive in, we're going to hear from our sponsors, Dennis Young Insurance and Leverage Power Washing. We'll be right back.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Welcome back to the weekend wrap up. Josh, before we dive into some of the things that you've got, let's talk about the weather. I know yesterday we had a hot day.
It was hot.
Today we're expecting highs in the low 90s with a heat index close to 100 or maybe even over 100 in some areas. So people, if they get out, they need to take care of themselves and watch their conditions. Try to stay cool. Try to stay in the shade. Don't stay out for any length of time.
When the heat index gets to 100 or above, when I go to Southern Cup, I get the ice drink
That's
instead
right.
of the hot drinks.
Ice drinks
Stay with the
instead of
ice drinks.
Well, I stuck with coffee this morning, and I splurged. I went to Crystal this morning.
Crystal coffee.
Yeah.
Hot coffee still. You're a brave man.
Hey, honestly, it's really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, Southern Cup's not too bad.
No,
either,
it's really
so
good.
It's good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, what we got, Josh?
What do we got? Not a whole lot. We could probably wrap this in about 2 minutes if we wanted to, but let's cover a couple things. It is the start of a new month, so we got the June 2025 Shelbyville Police Department stats, and you and I were talking about them before the show, and if the stats are right, crime is down in the city, which I guess is a good thing. So in the month of June, number of citations decreased significantly from 431 last year to only 298 this year. Number of auto accidents went down by 78 down to 77. Complaints even was down, 2,400 down to 2,200. 159 incidents instead of 180. Fewer people arrested, 135 arrests of adults and 8 of juveniles. The only thing that was on the increase, and maybe it was heat related, maybe not, domestic violence was up. Domestic violence incidents was up from 56 to 71 in the city.
So you're thinking everybody just got irritated and hot and mad?
Got hot and mad. I don't know. I'm just reading the numbers. That's what the numbers said.
And we were talking about this. The Shelbyville Police Department has done a good job of communicating this over the last few months, but they don't have their graphics coming up like normal. Hopefully they'll get that going back, but we do get those numbers, so we'll be sure to share them.
Yeah, we're getting the numbers through the council report they give. But yeah, I like that little Facebook graphic they're doing every month. They haven't done that in the last couple of months, so maybe that person's, I don't know, been on hiatus or something.
Yeah,
but maybe they'll come back and give us the fancy graphics.
Yeah, it was pretty fancy, but those are good numbers.
Yeah, that was good.
Seeing things go down is
down is good. I like that.
Crime.
So yeah. Another set of numbers I want to cover. This is something that normally you wouldn't get because we get this, but this is public record. This is the monthly financials from the city. And I just want to point out a couple of these just because we just passed the budget. We talk about this a lot. And this is the second budget in a row that the city, at least on paper, had looked like they were really going into a deficit hole.
Right.
So, but part of that is conservative budgeting. They budget more than they spend every year. And this is the actual financials of how much we're actually spent through the end of the month of May. There's 1 month left in the year. We will get the final yearly numbers next month. But I just want to point out that even though $34.8 million was budgeted by the city this year, they actually only spent 27.1 as of the end of May, which is about 77% of their budget. So it's not like the federal government where if you don't spend your money in your budget, you
don't
lose
get
it the
yeah.
next year. Yeah. They actually intentionally, a lot of our departments are well under budget. Some of them, in particular, like Stormwater, only spent 42% of their budget, Animal Control, 75%, Parks and Rec, 69%. Even our police and fire are both at 84, 85%.
Okay, so you could project this out for the month of June and see what the end of the year is going to look like.
And
we're
you're
going to
still,
be well under.
still going to be well under
Okay,
budget.
that's good.
Yeah.
That makes our budget going forward not feel as bad.
Right, yeah, and
As
that's
far
why
as
I felt
deficits.
okay with voting on the
You
budget.
saw
that
these
we
numbers.
did. Yeah, we knew that
Yeah.
that we're not going to spend everything that's in that budget if everything works out right. So that's the reasoning on that. And then as far as actual meetings this week, we had a grand total of one government meeting. in
One
the city
government
and county, and it was the Shelbyville City Council meeting. I just happened to be at that meeting for some reason. I showed up, so which was good. And it was short. It was actually the study session, so there was no voting that went on.
Right.
But normally our study sessions last an hour and a half, 2 hours, and there was really not a whole lot to discuss this month. So a couple notes that did come out of that meeting, though. The city has received 2 applications for the retail recruitment RFQ that they sent out about a month or 2 ago. So that is a company that's going to come in and work with the city for about a year to try to recruit new retail
Right.
business into the city. They had the retail strategies for about a year that they worked with, and they've now put this back out for bid to try to get a company to go out, look for areas that we need in the city, probably not coffee shops.
I think we're covered there,
I think
Josh.
good with coffee shops. Probably not going to need to look for vape shops. I think we're
Or
probably
chicken
good there.
places.
Probably not going to need to look for chickens.
Or
So
Mexican restaurants.
probably good on Mexican restaurants. So they're going to look for
So what
other
do we
areas.
need, Josh? In your opinion, what does the city of Shelbyville need in the way of retail?
The big one that I keep hearing about is we need more grocery. So
On the east side of town.
east side would be
particularly.
nice, but just a couple more national grocers in town. We're getting big enough that people would really love to have a Publix or an Aldi or some kind of other big stuff that people are driving out of town to go shopping for, so they can shop here locally. Still keep hearing like a sit down mid-level national chain kind of restaurant, like a Texas Roadhouse or a Logan's or a Applebee's or something. I think 1 or 2 more of those I think might do well. here
What
in
are the
town.
chances? Are our demographics, do you feel, sufficient enough to sustain a couple of those?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we should.
If it's
Unfortunately,
middle of the road.
Yeah, I think it's mid-range. We're not going to support a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
No,
or
we're
anything
not.
in
No,
town.
we're not. And they're not coming.
And they're not coming. So, but I think a good mid-level, sit down large chain restaurant. I think we could handle a couple more of those. I think people would like that. So, beyond that, I mean, just normal retailers. Different. I don't know. I hear rumor. I think there's a tractor supply place coming possibly.
We need another one of those.
And there's a few other things that have been.
Here's
so.
one thing that I've been paying close attention to, and I'm sure you have too. Outside of a big box store,
Yeah.
there's no place to buy men's clothing. Really, we've got
Right.
Here at our location, we're trying to get a few little things in for men, but there's no place. I can't even go buy a pair of underwear, Josh. I'm just telling you like it is. That's
Walmart.
it. That's it.
Dollar General, do they have men's underwear? I don't even know. I shop my underwear
I
at Dollar
don't do my
General,
wardrobe
maybe.
shopping at that
They might
place,
have some.
but
Yeah.
they probably do. But I'm
In a
talking
pinch, if you had none, you might have to go
That's
to
not
Dollar
a good
General.
word to use. but honestly, there's not a men's clothing store. And when I say that, I'm talking about casual wear.
Casual,
I'm not
right.
talking about fancy the men's warehouse suit and tie place.
Right.
We're not a suit
You're not
and tie
talking
town.
tailored.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about just somewhere you can go buy a pair of slacks, a nice dress shirt, and not have to drive to Murfreesboro for that.
Right.
I think there's a need for that. But we've had those here before with a much lower population and our demographics were probably similar, then they lasted a long time, and people aged out in the business, and nobody ever came back and replaced that. I think there's a need for that. That's just something I've been looking at.
So much of that online has killed so
Yeah.
much of that. I mean, my wife, who loves to buy everything online, I mean, anything clothes wise now, she'll just order it on Amazon or, what she used, Poshmark and all these other, eBay and Temu's and all that stuff.
The Temu stuff is going down the tubes.
Right.
They basically decreased their sales in the last month by 68% to the United States.
Yeah, because of the tariff stuff
situation,
going on.
So,
Yeah.
I think.
But it's just hard to compete if you're the local guy.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, because and if anyone's looking for Ariat, Winter Circle has a nice selection of Ariat, but somebody will come into your store, look at something they like, then they're going to Google
They'll
it,
try
find
it.
a price, and say $5.
They'll
and
try
order
it.
it online.
They'll try it on.
Yeah.
Make sure it fits. They know what size.
Yeah.
And then they'll get the SKU number off of it and go order it
Go
online.
online and
But
say
here's
$5.
one thing about it, Josh. Some of the clothing that you can get when you see it online versus seeing it in person, it's a little different. You get to feel it, you get to touch it,
Right.
and all of these, I'm saying mid-range clothing brands, you book it ahead of time, and when you book your order, that's what you've got.
Right.
So you can't just reorder the same thing. So a lot of this stuff is limited, and I feel like, I mean, we've done well with the Ariat stuff. I think that there's some other, men's shoes, for instance. There's not a good place to buy men's shoes in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And a shoe is something you can go to Zappos online
Right.
and order a shoe, but you can't touch it, feel it, sit down and try it on.
Yeah, I don't like getting shoes online. I want to feel how the shoe fits
Right.
before I'm committing to it. And
And
I
if
don't
the
like to
shoe
have to
fits,
ship
you'll-
it back.
And if the shoe fits, you'll walk out with it and
I'll
wear
walk
it.
out and wear it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I think if we had some options there, I think that would. I think they would go.
Yeah.
But the problem is, people have to get in the mindset, and we've been trying to push this whenever we talk about business locally to shop locally.
To shop local instead of going to the big box.
So
stores
on
out
these
in the city,
applications you get, they're going to be probably companies that specialize in this.
There'll be
Is that
companies that
correct?
specialize in retail recruitment. The previous one was Retail Strategies I think they were out of Alabama, and they're actually the one that Tullahoma has a contract with them currently, I think. So it'll be a company similar to that, and they'll look at our demographics. They'll look at different retailers that are particularly companies that are in expansion mode, and they'll try to pitch us. To them.
We've got some conversation here. Doc Dunn is talking about Applebee's has already been here. I think, Doc, you're getting Ruby Tuesday confused with Applebee's because we had a Ruby Tuesday up where the car wash is. The Miracle One.
I remember Ruby Tuesday.
Yeah, it was probably empty.
It was empty when
you moved here. But we had a Ruby Tuesday for several years, and we just didn't support it. Or I think it kind of ran its course on its menu or something. But we do have Legends.
Yeah.
We do have Chili's. Two more like that is what we're looking for, I think. And Applebee's, I don't know if it would go here or not, but Tullahoma has one. And it succeeds. I don't know.
Yeah, Applebee's as a brand has struggled a
Yeah.
lot over the last couple of years. If you go into Nashville, I don't know. There might be one still open in the whole city of Nashville. The one on Thompson Lane, I think, is all that's left. There used to be 7 or 8 in Nashville.
And they're in and out of bankruptcy too.
Yeah.
A lot of these food restaurant chains struggle. They struggle financially. It's a hard industry.
and they get bought up.
Yeah.
And I've done work for Logan's for years. I've been through 2 bankruptcies with them, so
Yeah.
multiple ownership groups.
Right.
So that's
A Logan's, and one other comes to mind is Olive Garden. I
Yeah.
love Olive Garden.
Yeah.
I don't know how strong they are, but it might go here. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just,
Your
just
Crystal Coffee, small side note, that's owned by Logan's. That's the same
Yeah.
parent company.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so technically we have a
Okay,
Logan's
so-
here in town. It's
so,
called Crystal. So.
Crystal was operated out of Chattanooga for a lot of years. So did this? They buy?
SPB Hospitality is the parent company now.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's Crystal and Logan's and a number of other ones. So, yeah.
Very good to know, Josh. You're on
So-
top
so,
of it.
So
Okay.
we technically have
Okay,
a
so
Logan's
retail
company.
recruitment is something that we hear a lot, and we
Right.
see on social media. We need this, and we need that. And we need this, and we need
Right.
that. Government does not do it,
No.
but government can aid in the process.
Right. We can hire
Right.
a company.
It's
to
not
lease
you.
level
You're
it.
not going to write the check for this, Josh.
No,
to do
and
it.
they have to commit. Yeah, I mean, it's their money. They got to commit to build
Right.
the building, or lease
Right.
the building, or
And
buy the
so,
property.
so many.
Yeah.
I think what's happened over the years, Josh, and I've heard this, and I've seen it happen this very right here. Politicians stand up and take credit for a restaurant coming in, and they do it. I brought this here. I brought this here. I got this done, and I got that done. So people expect politicians to put restaurants
To
in
go out
and
and
get the
call
retail,
and
and it's not you guys doing it.
No,
And people don't understand that.
no, nobody here in town has built the first coffee shop that works in politics.
Okay.
And we got a lot of them.
Sorry to chase that rabbit,
That's all
but
right.
that's a hot spot. A
It
hot
is,
topic for people here in the
And
city.
for when we've got a ton of people that have moved here from out of town, and they look for different
that.
brands and whatnot, and they're like, man, why do I have to go to Murfreesboro for this or that? But on the other hand, we also don't want to be Murfreesboro and have to get all those in here at the same time. You've also got to get the number of people
Right,
against the
Right. It's got to happen gradually.
yeah. So
And at the same time, we've got to support our local people that are here too.
right, we've got a lot of local options already, which is
There you
why
go.
I have
Southern
my
Cup,
fine coffee here this
best
morning.
coffee place in
best
town.
coffee in town. So, also at the city study session council meeting, we had it was mentioned briefly by the city manager, and I've been getting a lot of these complaints as well. We've been getting blasting complaints from the area of Idle Drive and Amos Smith Drive. I think doesn't Horse Mountain Road is the one
Yeah.
that runs in between there as well. So a number of people in that area have noticed blasting that they feel like is out of the ordinary. The city doesn't do blasting permits, blasting
Right.
inspections. All that runs through the state fire
Right.
marshal's office. So the city manager is going to get the information to the people that have the complaint so they can get with the state. But we don't have any oversight. We don't get notification. Nothing
Yeah.
with blasting comes through at the city level. It's all handled at the state level. I drove up there myself a couple days ago just to see if I saw anything out of the ordinary. There is a new subdivision starting at the end of Idle Drive. I think the sign said it's going to be Idle Reserve or something. And they had a trailer, like a small trailer and a porta potty, and there'd been a little bit of work, but I couldn't tell if they'd done blasting or not. There was no indication. Like normally you would have signs that say we're
Yeah.
blasting and stuff,
Yeah.
and there's nothing like that there. So I don't know that it was them. You've also got a couple quarries up on that side of town. So the city will obviously help people as much as they can, but it's all going to go through the state.
And Josh,
There's-
you know, you've been in Bedford County for a little while, and I don't know if you've noticed, but we sit on limestone rock.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we are. Okay,
I've
you
noticed
go
that.
down, it's limestone.
it's kind of
right?
rocky.
And
Yeah.
when you blast in an environment like in a geological makeup of limestone rock, it's a little tricky to
Right.
not cause damage 10 miles from where you're
It's
blasting.
going to carry a while.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky situation.
Yeah, so just wanted people to know that their concerns were being heard, but there wasn't a whole lot the city could do, but they have passed it on to the state on that. Another presentation was made to us from the, the South Central Tennessee Development District, I believe is the acronym, that they have gotten some grants, some EPA assessment grants, and they said us and one other town, maybe Fayetteville, are their two top ones that they want this money to go to. And basically, it is going into old, abandoned buildings, industrial areas, and they will, with these grants, spend the money to do the research and assessment of what needs to be done to get these rehabbed to where they can be put back into service again. So if there's a concern of some kind of a chemical contaminant, or if it was some kind of industrial use that it's, I think what they call them brownfields, where there's a question of that. The money is sitting there now for the next several years that they will come in at no cost to us and do some assessments on these buildings and get them back to where, if we've got somebody that wants to use them, they can actually buy the building and put them back into service.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Just imagine the government is going to funnel just a little bit of our money back to us.
Back to us. This is
just
our
a little
money
bit.
coming
Just
back.
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, this came from the state. So, but I know we've got a number of those type of, and that's why they're focused on us, is we've got a number of those type of previously used industrial buildings in town. This is one way to get at least the process started. Now, this does not include the money if they find something bad with the infrastructure to actually do the cleanup. But they said there's additional grants you can go to for that. This is just to do the assessment phase of this and actually look at it and say, hey, this is what needs to be done. This is how much it would cost. That type of thing.
Okay, so who applied for this? Did the city apply for this, or
We had
Just-
they came to us literally. It was the South Central Tennessee Development District that went out and got this. And this is not just for the city. This is for their whole. I think they said it's a 11 or 13 county area.
Okay, so it's the
They
region.
just felt like we
Okay.
were one of the top 2 cities in their region that could possibly make the most use of this money. So they came to us, and that money's available. If you're out looking at a industrial property in town and it needs an EPA assessment, reach out to City Hall. They got some money they can use to do it. So, other thing we're looking at this month, and this is a small thing, but we look at these every couple months. We've got a couple local events that the city uses part of their hotel motel money every year to give grants to different events that are coming into town. So we got the Tennessee State Chili Cook-Off, which happens every year in July. I've never understood that. I don't feel like
should be
eating
October.
chili.
October's a month.
It
for
feels
that.
like you would want to do that in fall, but they do it every year in July. So they've asked for a grant from the city. And then the American Mule and Bluegrass Festival, which I hear is a decent-sized event that happens, I think it happens over at Cooper Steel Arena, doesn't it?
Yes,
Definitely in the
uh-huh.
celebration
Yep.
grounds. And both of those have asked for a grant. We'll have to decide next week how much to give them. I think they said last year we gave the chili people $3,000, and I think we gave the bluegrassers and the mules $5,000 last
Okay.
year. So 5 is about the max on that they give. And it's just to help with their marketing and promotion to hopefully get tourists to come into town and whatnot. So
Okay.
I don't know how many chili tourists you have, but the mule and the bluegrass, I guess you have a few people that travel for that. So.
Yep, probably so.
Another small item I wouldn't normally mention, but we didn't have a whole lot going on. We're getting a new physical security IT policy, which basically means if you have something that has something sensitive on it, it needs to be locked up. So
Okay.
it's like a common sense thing, but the state required it. So we got to approve one of those next week. 2 rezonings. There's a little bitty parcel next to Cooper Steel that they are getting rezoned to industrial. And then the MTSU flight school property, this will be the final vote next week to rezone that to where it can actually be used for a flight school. However,
However,
I happened to watch the airport authority meeting this week, and there has been a snag in the MTSU flight school, and we are on a up to 120-day hold. Somebody went out and walked the property and found they had some wetlands out there on the 30 acres. It was only like 1 point some acres, but maybe there's an endangered something out there, and they've put a hold on the whole thing. TDEC has.
over a
They've got
mud puddle.
over some wetlands somewhere on the property.
A mud puddle.
They've got up to 120 days to assess. They got to
Okay.
make sure we're not killing an endangered squid.
All right, Doc Gunn wants to know where he can get all the information on the chili cook-off. Is it on the city website?
It is
on the
not.
event?
That's not sponsored by the city. That is Calvin puts that on.
Calvin Cannon?
Calvin Cannon, and that is, I believe, his Facebook page. You know, he puts his stuff on. It's called Uptown Shelbyville,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
But yeah, we'll post on Shelbyville now. I've got just a 1-sheeter on it, just a little
Okay.
graphic. But
All right, Doc. Hope
yeah.
that helps. We'll try to get something up on that.
Yeah, it's coming. It's next weekend, I believe. I think it's.
Oh, it's already here.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It's July.
like yeah,
Hey,
it's
wow.
the 12th and 13th, I believe. And they also have a car show on the 13th that's connected with that. So we'll make sure. If I haven't, I probably have already posted. But if I have not, we'll definitely post it this
Okay.
week on
All right, very
Shelbyville
good.
Facebook page. So yeah. A couple other things did happen this week. Wednesday, we posted about this. I went to the people at Duxon, gave donation checks to the Police Benevolent Fund, the Firefighters Foundation, $2,000 each. I saw some of the comments. I understand where the commenters are coming from, but I can say that I did. Obviously, I met with the people, and I'm hoping to even meet with them later in the month and tour the facility. I feel like they're doing their job. They've been brought into this, and they didn't have anything to do with a lot of what people are upset about on the front end.
Right.
These are just people that are there working, doing their job. Every one of them was as friendly as could be. Not a whole lot of people there in the building when I was there. It was fairly.
Well, it's basically not functional yet as
It
far
didn't-
as production.
I didn't see a whole lot going on while I was there, but they're they're doing their best to get up and running and a business running. The state has inspected them now. The state feels like they hit all the safety requirements that the state wants. So at this point, we got to move forward and hopefully, I wish they became the best one in the country and got us hundreds of jobs, but we'll see, future-wise
EVs
what
hit a
happens,
little
so.
road, I guess, a bump in the road about 6-8 months ago. He's, with Trump coming in and talking
They
about
hit
the
a
EV.
real
Yeah.
bump in the road this week because
Yeah.
there's no longer a EV
Subsidies,
vehicle
yeah.
subsidy starting, I believe, it's July 1st. It's really
Yeah,
quick that it's going away.
It's already in place.
Yeah.
So EVs is a big question mark right now. I think that the future down the road, years down the road from now, we're going to see a different type of EV evolve. And if this company can adapt to that, they'll be fine. But I think there's a lot of
There's a lot going on in
moving
that space
parts,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not looking super promising.
Hey, Joe Finch, good to see you.
What's up, Joe? And then Friday, the only other thing I did this week, went out and did the 4th of July festivities. We posted about that. Our friend
Right.
Gary Hale was there doing the Star Spangled Banner. They had a really good 80s cover band that I stayed around, saw a couple songs for, and just overall the park was packed. It started out really hot, but there was that brief pop-ups that came through. It didn't actually rain on me while I was at the park, but it dropped the temperature a lot. So it looked like it was going to be a really good crowd. It was a really good event, ton of food trucks and stuff. So if you've never been to our city 4th of July thing, it's actually a pretty big
Yeah.
event. They do a good job over there at Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah.
Together.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
yeah.
I'm sure there was lots of people.
Lots of people. It was very full. But I didn't stick around for their fireworks. I went back to my neighborhood.
Had your own fireworks.
We had free food. I could have paid at the food truck. So we had all you could eat barbecue and baked beans and all kinds of stuff in the neighborhood. So I cheaped out with free food.
I want to back up to one thing that we talked about. I know
Yeah.
we're right at the end of what all happened this week. Let's talk about the wetland situation at the airport.
Yeah.
Is from the tone of that meeting that you sat in, is there a possibility that the MTSU project could be delayed because of this wetlands discovery?
Well, it's definitely delayed, but it's only 4-month delay. So it's not.
But that's pending the investigation. What if they find more?
This is a very high priority state project. I would be shocked if they're going to find something that's
Okay.
going to hurt it too bad.
I mean,
So,
that property's been sitting there for years.
yeah, and this is everybody at the state is pushing this project to happen. So I can't believe that it's going to
Okay.
do anything other than just be a bump in the road. But we'll definitely be watching, and if it
Yeah.
turns into something bigger. But for the moment, it's just an up to 120 days for them to investigate and make sure there's not some kind of endangered newt or something living in the wetlands.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I don't know what would live in
Who
wetlands
knows?
next to the Shelbyville Airport, but they got to make sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But with that was all that happened for me this week.
All right. Well,
as far as newsworthy.
let's dive into what's going to happen next week.
Yeah, we got a
Before
couple
do,
things coming up
yeah.
next week. So
Before
let's-
we do, let's hear from our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance and Leverage Power Washing. We'll
Yeah.
be right back.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, back in here with the weekend wrap-up show. Josh, what we got coming up this week?
This week we've got a few more meetings, not a whole lot more actually. We're still I don't know what this is, the summer slow period right after budget season. But Tuesday evening we have the county commission meeting, the monthly meeting for July. This is the quarterly reports meeting where we've got, I think, 9 reports on the agenda, and we always try to guess how many people are going to show up at the meeting. I'm thinking I'm going to be optimistic and say 5 of those 9 people actually show up and give a report at the meeting.
Okay.
So we'll have them there. One that we got early was from the highway department. They gave us a couple sets of numbers, or actually they gave them to the county commission. We got them as well. Let's go over them real quick. I just thought they might be of some interest to people. The convenience centers. If you've ever wondered how many people use those convenience centers we have in the county, they actually recently bought some of those little strips you run across the road where you can measure cars coming and going, and they got us some stats. The busiest convenience center in the county is El Bethel, happens to be the one I use. They're averaging just under 2,500 visitors a week. So they're actually almost double any of the others we're going to read off here. Second biggest one is Tollgate. They get about 1,500 people a week. Third busiest, Unionville, they get 1,300 a week. And all 3 of those are open 6 days a week, 6:30 to 4:30. And then from there, it falls off quite a bit. Nobody else has even 1,000. Wartrace averages about 990 a week. You got Bell Buckle at 770. Normandy gets 660 a week. Wheel 370, and poor decent convenience center only sees 250 people a week.
But their hours are more limited than
they are. They are only open. All of those that get less than 1,000 a week are open 4 days a week. They're closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and everybody's closed on Sunday. So, yeah.
So we're counting heads, but we're not really looking at the volume of
this isn't the volume of trash. This
yeah.
is the number of vehicles that drove into the facility.
The true number would come probably with volume of trash.
Yeah,
as far
with the rate
as, which is the busiest. So.
Yeah, but clearly El Bethel by
Yeah.
a long shot is. And you mentioned briefly, and it was just funny, so I'm going to bring it up anyway
Okay.
while we're talking. I believe you said nobody goes to Tollgate because they may or may not have a trash Nazi working there, kind of like the
In the
soup
past,
Nazi.
there's been a Nazi.
Has there been
trash
somebody
Nazi
that's been kind of overseeing what comes and
rough.
goes?
No, it's rough.
It's a rough going to Tollgate, so maybe that's why everybody goes to
I
El
don't
Bethel.
go there anymore.
You don't go
to El Bethel.
You go to El Bethel.
I go to El
You've
Bethel.
added to the
That's-
2,500 a week. You're part
Even
of the
though
problem.
the toll gate one is 1 mile from my house, I'll
You
drive 6
all
miles,
the way to El Bethel.
7 miles over there
So-
because I just don't get harassed.
So customer service matters,
Yeah, it
even
does.
in the world of trash. The other side of that report we got, which you actually have those numbers there, is the actual highways that have been done in Bedford County.
Yeah, we've got
The paving and how many roads?
162 roads, total 633 total county roads out of the 633, which is 27% of all county roads, were resurfaced between 2019 and 2024, that 5-year period. The total cost was $9.6 million roughly, and this averages out to about $1.9 every budget year. And the highway gets 9 cents from the tax rate at $1.1 million, and every penny from the county is used plus monies for road work on county roads. Let's see, paving of roads, 41 paved roads for a total cost of $8.3 million. Chip and seal roads, 121, and we were talking about this before. This is the predominant amount of the county roads are getting
Most
chip
of
and
what they're
seal.
doing is chip and seal rather
Yeah.
than repaving, just because of the cost. Because
And
how
we-
much was it to chip and seal? A lot less.
1.0. I mean, just a little over $1 million. And we were talking about this back in the day. Chip and seal was called tarred and chipped. Okay, they put
Same
tar
idea.
out,
Yeah.
threw some small pea gravel on it, and mashed it down.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. The tar and chip is the
Yeah.
chip and seal. It's a new
Right.
term.
Yeah, so
Um,
it gets the job done, but it's not as long term of a solution. It's basically putting a Band-Aid
Yeah.
over a road that.
All right, and then that's a total of 12,000 individual jobs in the county for the last 5 years, and when they're doing this with 13 employees on a 4-day work week, so they work 4 days a week for 46 weeks a year, and the shifts are 10 hours. The time frame for getting these completed would equate to 52 total jobs completed weekly over the last 5 years. That's the information that was put forth by our highway department. So,
So they're out there and they're working on the roads and they're staying busy. Only other thing coming up in the upcoming week will be the city council meeting. And I got to tell you, it's a light agenda, much like the study session that we just had.
Yep.
We're going to vote on the 2 rezonings. We're going to vote on how much money we give to those 2 events that are coming into town. A couple more house cleaning votes. I think we have to reappoint all the beer board.
Yeah.
All those people want to come back on. That's just be a quick yes vote. I think there's a member of the library board that's up. So really kind of quiet overall in local government. So.
Chuck Heflin has chimed in here. Going back to the airport situation, he said,
Yeah.
why didn't the flight school engineers know about wetland before now? That's a good question. And then he said, during the development phase of the 231 Industrial Park, we had to spend $4,000 to mitigate the brown bat's potential habitat.
Well, so that it
He's-
could end up
he's
being a
been
money
part of
thing.
it.
Yeah.
It's a money thing. So the wetland situation, that's been farm property. I mean, the piece of property that the city bought
Right.
and it's leasing out, okay, it's been farmland for years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he brings up a good question. So somebody just stumbled up, and here's the thing: is it wetland, or is it because we've just been?
It's been
wet?
raining
It's
so
been
much
raining
and
so
it
much,
didn't
you
drain
know?
off enough.
I mean, my front yard is a wetland at times.
I've had a lot of wetlands in our neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah,
Over
so
the last couple of
He
months,
brings some
so.
good points up here.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just a passing thing.
Yeah, like I said, it's got a lot of state push behind it, so I'd be shocked if it turns into
Yeah.
something more serious. So, but with that, we got not a whole lot more going on this
That's
week.
it?
So yeah, I've actually got a couple other things that aren't government meetings. I believe I'm touring one of our pencil factory this week. That'll be
All right.
interesting.
Musgrave.
Musgrave, yeah. Got a tour scheduled at Musgrave this week, and other than that, I think we'll be back here next week. Same place,
All right.
same time, same channel with
Yep,
the news
same
that
class
matters
and the same
uh,
sponsors.
same sponsors.
Leverage Power Washing, thank you. And Dennis Young Insurance. And thanks to everybody for watching. We'll be back next week,
Yes.
Saturday morning. See you then.
See ya.
Have a